Joe Rogan, the titan of the digital airwaves, didn't just drop a bomb, he meticulously planted a single cold seed of doubt in the center of a nation's grief. It wasn't an accusation, not a question, but a quiet, insidious assertion, uttered with the practiced casualness of a man who knows the explosive power of his own whispers. In the latest sprawling episode of his podcast, the uncensorable voice of America paused, leaned into the silence that is more terrifying than any scream, and then delivered the line that would fracture the internet. I don't think Erika Kirk is completely innocent. There are things she knows, and she chooses not to. 6 seconds. That was the duration of the heavy, uncomfortable silence that followed. Rogan simply stared, his eyes unwavering, the camera capturing the predatory stillness before the hunt. Then, with a slow exhalation, he shifted the topic, the moment passing in the studio but detonating a media earthquake outside. Netizens, the digital bloodhounds, needed no more. From a nearly 2-hour stream, they surgically excised exactly 12 seconds, the utterance, the gaze, the chilling silence, and transformed it into a fuse. An anonymous editor, versed in the dark arts of virality, layered on a minor key thrum, zoomed in on the unflinching intensity of Rogan's eyes, and emblazoned the screen with 2 words in stark, accusatory red: "She knows." Within 24 hours, the clip was a digital wildfire, scorching through more than 20 million views. Reaction videos, psychoanalysis session, and conspiracy theories metastasized like a digital plague. Headlines screamed, "Is Erika Kirk hiding something?" Rogan's silence speaks volumes. The chilling question that pulsed through America's feed was whether the most trusted contrarian had just whispered a terrible truth no one else dared to touch. The storm, as always, required no evidence, only suspicion. Rogan's acolytes, a legion devoted to the gospel of unvarnished truth, immediately formed a shield. "He's just asking questions. We have a right to skepticism." Don't twist his words. But the countercurrent of outrage was a raw, visceral torrent. "You're desecrating grief, exploiting a widow's pain for clicks. She lost her husband 3 weeks ago." The world cleaved instantly into 2 warring camps. Those who celebrated Rogan as the necessary truth-teller, and those who damned him as a profiteer of tragedy. Erika Kirk, the woman who had always receded from the camera's glare, was abruptly shoved into the cruel, unforgiving spotlight. Every frame of her, from the funeral procession to the quiet grip on her husband's casket, was re-scrutinized, re-edited, and recontextualized. Her downcast eyes were red as guilt. The single moment of emotional restraint at the graveside became proof of a hidden truth. An old private photograph of her with Charlie was cropped, overlaid with the caption, "The Secret Keeper." The actual truth was immaterial. What mattered was the feeling of being manipulated, and the public was addicted to the drama. Erika watched her name saturate the scrolling darkness of social media. The commentary was a collective howl. "She knows more. That cold woman can't shed a tear. Investigate her." Her phone was a relentless, vibrating source of panic, friends, reporters, and the terrifying, unyielding silence of Rogan himself. No apology, no context, no retreat. To many, that silence was confirmation. To Erika, it was a public shaming, an attempt to cast the bereaved wife as the villain in her own tragedy. She felt her blood chill when she finally watched the clip, realizing that Rogan hadn't just insulted her, he had stolen her right to mourn in peace. The next morning, the protest began not with a word, but with erasure. Erika wiped her Instagram clean of Charlie's memory. Every photo, every tribute, every shared moment vanished. Then, she posted a single, elegantly devastating line. "When people no longer respect your pain, silence is also a protest." The gentle sentence was a detonation, shared 10 million times in 6 hours. Even her attackers paused, a wave of collective doubt washing over the digital battlefield. Had they gone too far? But for Erika, the violation was complete. She had been transformed from a private wife into public content, her every emotion a commodity for consumption. And as the world braced for her inevitable collapse, Erika Kirk chose to stand. Not to weep, but to respond, to reclaim the narrative that had been so brutally hijacked. 3 days of deafening silence following Rogan's shockwave. 3 days of millions of judgments from strangers who had never known her pain. Then, on a Tuesday evening, in a room stripped bare of pretense, Erika appeared. No crew, no makeup, no grand production, just a woman in black with eyes the color of raw grief, recording herself on a phone. The video was 6 minutes of pure, controlled force, and in those 6 minutes, she silenced the world. Her voice, trembling yet weighty, began not as a defense, but a battle cry. You thought my husband's mission was powerful before. You have no idea what you have just unleashed across this entire country, in this world. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. Erika was fighting to wrench her story back. She lacerated the doubt, the speculation, the hypocrisy. I was never invited to speak. No one called me, no one asked me a single question before dropping those hints. Her voice sharpened, calm and lethal. Joe Rogan, you talk about the truth, but you never ask what the truth is. You say you ask questions, but your questions kill the silence of a mourner. A pregnant pause. 3 seconds of choked silence, without music or effect, a woman losing the right to grieve. She finished not with an apology for her pain, but a defiant declaration. I'm not afraid of questions. I'm afraid of indifference. The video ended on an unflinching stare, then black, but the internet had already combusted. Number sign Erika Kirk Speaks rocketed to the top of worldwide trends. Journalists, celebrities, and former critics shared the clip with stunned reverence. Candace Owens called it the most courageous public display of grief she had ever witnessed. Tucker Carlson posted it with a short final epitaph. Silence is no longer an option. Rogan's loyalists tried to dismiss it as a polished PR stunt, a scripted performance, but the numbers didn't lie. 50 million views in 24 hours. The media dubbed it the gentle protest. Psychologists hailed it as the moment public grief changed forever. The public for the first time began to wonder, are we too comfortable consuming the tears of others as content? Erika vanished after that video, leaving a single line in the description. Not all silence is complicity. Sometimes it's the only way to survive. It was the final clean cut through the noise, a single hurt woman forcing a nation to listen and to question not what she knew, but whether we still possessed the capacity for empathy. The media storm immediately shifted. It was no longer a personal feud, it was a societal battle line. On one side, those who saw Erika's response as calculated, a victim playing counter-offensive, analyzing her gestures and breathing for signs of deflection. No one talks much about insensitivity if they have nothing to hide, one widely quoted account asserted. On the other, a powerful wave of defense, hailing her as the sole beacon of humanity in the media chaos. Here, Stand With Erika became the counter-movement. She lost her husband, not her role. This is real pain, not a media campaign. The divide became stark. Freedom of speech versus the freedom to grieve. Big names were forced to choose sides. Candace Owens retracted her past support for Rogan's statement. I do not support attacking a woman who is grieving. Joe should know the line between discussion and exploitation. Tucker Carlson framed the issue larger. This is about how we treat people in the age of unlimited media. Even Megyn Kelly, while acknowledging Rogan's right to speak, added a crucial caveat. That right does not come with a right to hurt, and if he doesn't realize it, the public will help him realize it. Conservative politicians publicly demanded an apology, sending an open letter to Spotify. Rogan's fans screamed censorship and political revenge. It's never a crime to tell the truth, one viral post declared. Amidst the cacophony, Erika remained utterly silent. That silence became an Rorschach test. Was she plotting her next move, or was she simply broken by pain? Media talk shows hired body language experts to psychoanalyze her video, claiming her pupil dilation signaled she was hiding something. What few understood was that with every mention of her name, every replay of her video, Erika was losing a piece of herself. Empathy had curdled into consumption. Pain had become product. Rogan, silent, watched his subscription count surge by 3 million in a single week. Erika, silent, became the unwilling face of a new movement, a demand for humanity in the content age. The hashtag #Let Her Grieve emerged, shared by thousands of artists and journalists. The message resonated. Sometimes the most humane thing we can do is to stop talking. The core of the story had changed. It was no longer about a podcaster and a widow. It was about the fight to define truth itself. Rogan symbolized free speech, the unconstrained questioner who dared to touch the forbidden. Erika represented the violated human being, the pain and honor torn apart by millions of eyes. If he was the voice, she was the silence. If he was the question, she was the emotion. The battle line shifted from belief versus doubt to punch of freedom of speech versus the freedom to grieve. The mainstream media became a vulture, tearing the story into pieces for maximum exploitation. CNN labeled it an ethical crisis in the podcast era. Fox News suggested Erika was exploiting grief to restore the Kirk family's reputation. Both sides weaponized her. Rogan's continued silence was a defiance. He simply posted a single line on X. People have the right to ask questions. That's how we get closer to the truth. It was a subtle, yet explosive challenge, a declaration that the war was not over. Erika did not post another video. She was seen only in paparazzi photos, visiting her husband's grave, her gaze distant. The photo ran on the front pages of 3 different newspapers with 3 different definitive headlines: The Lonely Widow, Erika Kirk, Heroine or Emotional Director, and Silence, the New Media Tactic. She was being spoken for by the very people who claimed to protect her. A terrifying realization dawned on the public. The story no longer belonged to Rogan or Erika. It belonged to the internet, the collective. Truth was no longer found. It was chosen. And then, the quiet, bitter question. If the truth is so important, why do we let others tell our truth for us? The battle for the right to the story had left both combatants diminished. Rogan, perhaps, lost his perceived moral high ground. Erika lost her final sanctuary of peace. The most bitter irony was clear. In an age where every life can become content, any person can be stripped of their basic human right to mourn with a few seconds of silence. Rogan said, "The truth will set you free." But for Erika, the truth only trapped her in a glass box, judged, speculated upon, and dissected. After weeks of media siege, Erika Kirk abruptly vanished from all platforms. Her public pages went dark. The storm seemed to have passed. Then, the final chilling act. On a Monday morning, major newspapers reported in unison, Erika Kirk had deleted all posts about her husband. Every photo, every memorial, every shared line of love was erased. Her digital presence was a void, as if their shared life had never existed. In that vacuum, one haunting tweet remained. "You can't win when people love to watch you fall." 8 cold words, no hashtag, no context. The world exploded again, interpreting it as both a declaration of war against the media machine and a bitter surrender. But everyone agreed she was still fighting, just on a different battlefield. The media's dissection was immediate. One major network ran the headline: "Erika Kirk strikes back with silence." Another, the quote that makes America think again about media inhumanity. Psychologists debated the tweet's meaning: exhaustion or absolute control. Number signs "she will rise" surged across the globe. Joe Rogan remained utterly, terrifyingly silent. Not a tweet, not a mention. His silence and Erika's silence became 2 opposing seismic forces. And just as the public believed the standoff had reached an equilibrium, an exclusive online report detonated the final fuse. A source close to the Kirk family reveals Erika is preparing for an exclusive interview, and this time she will say things that have never been heard before. The speculation was frenzied. Was she holding evidence? Was this the final calculated countermove? Every news channel scrambled, but Erika did not utter another word. Her silence now was louder than any scream. It was not an excuse, it was a condemnation. The story, which began with a man's shocking words, now hinged on a woman's final defiant silence. There is a strange loop in this saga. It started with noise and is ending with an ominous quiet. Rogan's initial comment wasn't just about drama, it was about the seduction of being the only one to state the unspeakable in a world hungry for shock. Erika learned the hard truth. Silence is not a shield, it's a vacuum others will fill with their own story. For her, this was never a fight to win public approval. It was a fight to reclaim her basic humanity in an age that has outsourced its empathy. When the cameras finally stop and the trending topics fade, what will remain is not the truth, but the feeling of truth. Rogan has the massive audience. Erika has the visceral pain. And we, the viewers, sharers, and judges, have become the true, unwitting protagonists. The final, brutal question isn't, "What did Joe Rogan say?" but "Why did we all listen with such vicious curiosity?" When a woman stands up in the storm, is she defending her honor or is she hiding something? What do you believe? Your opinion is the next terrifying chapter of this story.